When armies draw their lines across conquered territories, they believe their checkpoints, patrols, and fortifications conceal a population inside. But throughout history, ordinary people have proven that no barrier is truly impermeable. From the occupied villages of World War II to the concrete divisions of the Cold War, civilians transform themselves into ghosts, slipping through the cracks of military control. Using nothing but courage, local knowledge, and fieldcraft that would make any modern survivalist take notes, these weren't trained soldiers. They were teachers, farmers, and teenagers who learned to read the landscape like a map written in shadows and silence. The most successful escape routes began with intimate knowledge of terrain that occupying forces could never fully possess. In Nazi-occupied Belgium and France, the Comet Line guides memorized every forgotten cattle path, every abandoned quarry, and every bend in the forest where moonlight never reached. They understood that armies move along roads and railways, leaving the spaces between patrols as corridors of possibility. These civilians became masters of dead ground, the low valleys and dense woodlands where visibility collapsed and sentries lost their advantage. They knew which streams ran deep enough to mask footprints, which ridgelines offered observation without silhouette, and which farmhouses sat just beyond the sweep of searchlights. This wasn't abstract knowledge from books. It was survival wisdom earned through reconnaissance missions disguised as berry picking or, checking rabbit snares. Modern preppers often focus on wilderness survival, but these escape artists proved that the most dangerous terrain is civilized territory turned hostile, where every encounter with another human becomes a life-or-death gamble of trust. Moving undetected through enemy-controlled land required more than just knowing the route. It demanded complete transformation. Escapees traveling the Pat O'Leary line received forged documents so meticulously crafted that German officers examined them at checkpoints without suspicion. But paperwork alone meant nothing without the performance to match. Guides taught Allied airmen how to walk like French labourers, how to hold cigarettes differently, even how to drink wine at the proper pace for a regional farm worker. The smallest detail, a too clean fingernail, a wrong accent on a single word, boots worn differently than local custom, could, unravel weeks of planning. These civilians understood camouflage not as pattern and colour, but as cultural invisibility. They created false identities layered with believable backstories, complete with knowledge of local gossip, church schedules, and ration card protocols. When crossing open ground during clandestine river crossings near the Spanish border, they moved during weather others avoided, in fog during storms, when sentries huddled in their posts rather than scanning the darkness. They learned that nature provides cover, but timing and human psychology provide opportunity. Perhaps the most sophisticated survival skill these civilian networks mastered was operational security in an environment, just absolutely saturated with informants and collaborators. The Comet Line operated across hundreds of miles using compartmentalized cells, where each person knew only their immediate contacts. Safe houses changed constantly. Recognition signals evolve weekly. A specific flower in a window, a mismatched button, a newspaper folded just so. This wasn't paranoia. It was the fieldcraft of trust in a landscape where, honestly, betrayal meant torture and execution. These networks understood that security isn't about fortifications, it's about information control, predictable routines broken, and connections that leave no documentary trail. These forgotten routes across occupied Europe teach us that survival isn't just about wilderness skills. It's about adapting to whatever landscape threatens you, whether that's wilderness, urban collapse, or territory under hostile control. The civilians who built these escape lines remind us that preparedness means understanding terrain, mastering invisibility, and building networks of trust before crisis arrives. Their legacy lives in every modern survivalist who studies not just how to survive nature, but how to survive other humans when systems fail. If these stories of wartime resilience and forgotten Fieldcraft speak to you, go ahead and subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles and share this video with anyone who values self-reliance, historical wisdom, and the art of survival.